Adam Montgomery was finally sentenced, and the judge did not go easy on him, nor should she. And we're going to talk about the highlights of it in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. Sofa's back here, Roscoe's on it. He's questioning me why I haven't made him a little turkey burger this afternoon, but we're going to do that in a few minutes. First, we're going to be discussing the sentencing of Adam Montgomery. Now what we'll specifically be doing in this video is looking at a few clips from the sentencing and just kind of covering over some parts that I want to talk about and review with you and whatnot. Now, for those that are unfamiliar with this was the case, very tragic case. Harmony Montgomery, the little girl who was the victim in this case, obviously she's no longer with us. The trial was probably one of the worst I have ever seen, and what I mean by that is just the tragedy of it, the sadness of it, the heinousness of it. And so he was obviously convicted. He was, found guilty of the crimes that he faced. Now, here's the thing. He has yet to this point to tell anybody where Harmony's remains are. Now, that's going to become prevalent here in a minute when we watch this, and the prosecution gives him one last chance to do so before sentencing. Spoiler alert, you probably already know if you've watched it. He doesn't take it, but we don't expect Adam to do that, right? It's why he's in this situation in the first place. It's just who he is and how he operates. So, that being said, what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to look at some clips, talk about them, and then go over it at the end of the video. So let's go ahead and get into that first clip. And what I'm actually doing with this first one is I'm just going to put him up there so we can watch him enter the courtroom. And let's just go ahead and kind of talk about it as he's entering. I wanted to put this up here simply from the standpoint of just, he's so eerie, in my opinion. So here we go. He comes in looking around, doing his little sway, sits down. There's something very scary to me about Adam, for all due reason, right? I mean, look at what he did. It's like, that's a no-brainer, right, Paul? But I don't know what it is about him that, and I guess maybe comparing him to other criminals that, have done these type crimes, whatever. It's almost like there's nothing behind those eyes. Watching him throughout the sentencing, it's like there's nothing. Now remember, if you watch the trial, like he didn't even show up, right? It was like, they forced him to come to this, right? He had to. I think he knew, it is what it is. Now, he's already serving a massive sentence right now. This is going to go on top of that, well, in addition to, actually. But so I think part of it is he doesn't care. He doesn't care what he did to Harmony. He doesn't care. He's just more annoyed. He knows he's going to be found guilty. He says he's innocent. He's not going to budge from that. And so he's annoyed at the whole process. Now what I want to do is get into some of those statements that were made by the state during the very beginning of the sentencing. So let's hear what they had to say.
Under our law in New Hampshire, that means that the mandatory minimum sentence that the defendant must receive is at least 35 years in prison.
Okay, now just keep that in mind. They're saying the minimum mandatory at least 35 years in prison. Now remember, he's also facing several charges in this. So just keep that in mind as we get to it, because it's going to become more prevalent when we hear what the judge actually sentences him to.
So the question for us today isn't why the defendant should get the minimum mandatory sentence. The question is, how can the minimum sentence ever apply to the crimes that were committed by this man?
This is a very interesting tactic that the state uses, and by saying the way he just did, like, how could you ever apply a minimum sentence, when these are the things that he did, and the state will go on and list these out. It's very, I don't even want to use the word dramatic, but it leaves an emotional impact on the listener, because that is one key word here for this case, for this trial, for these crimes, is emotional impact. When even it makes me just catch my breath right now. When you see Harmony and how little she was and how defenseless she was, and you look at Adam, and maybe I'm kind of answering my question as I say this about what he's so spooky about, because there's this dark evilness behind those eyes, and you see he's a big guy, right? And you see how fragile little Harmony was, but then also when you hear how well she was doing away from him, like it was so unnecessary, right? And so the way that the state, I almost said defense, but the way the state framed this, I thought was very excellent in their narrative.
How can the minimum ever apply? How can the minimum ever apply when he's lied over and over again? How can the minimum ever apply when he's had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to tell investigators and others where she is right now, and she can't be laid to rest?
And that's the truly heartbreaking part. I would argue and theorize, that's how you say it, that he loves having that power over everyone, especially the mother. But then the public in general, like, I just think he's that evil that he's just probably sitting over there right now as that guy saying that, laughing to himself. Like, yeah, and I'm never going to tell you. Like, he got one over, and he just loves that. But you heard I've put a few examples in here of him saying, how can we ever apply the minimum when? How can we ever apply the minimum when? And it's true and it works.
The state's recommendation at this time is that the defendant serve 4 to 8 years, stand committed for the crime of second-degree assault, which occurred in July of 2019, and that should then be followed by consecutive sentences of 3.5 to 7 years for his falsifying physical evidence, for what he did to Harmony's body, with a concurrent sentence of 12 months for the misdemeanor, followed by another consecutive 3.5 to 7 years for witness tampering, for beating spouse to ensure that she would stick to the story he created, followed by not less than a minimum of 45 years to life in the charge of
Now, again, if you watch the trial or if you follow this case, then you'll know that not only what he do to Harmony was obviously horrible, right? She left this earth in a horrifying manner. But he continued to, and I don't even know the word, disrespect. So many words come to mind. Just spit on her grave type thing for a couple of years afterwards by moving her body from place to place to place to place, trying to hide and conceal what took place with her. It's literally, when I hear it, when I watching the trial and everything, and hearing Kayla, his at that point wife, get up there, who she cut a deal. So if you're not familiar with the case, Kayla was his wife, and this is who, when they talk about like the spousal abuse, that type of stuff to go on with the story. A lot of us have our own feelings about Kayla, okay? She's already out. She got a very sweet deal from this. She did testify against him, but it's a day late, dollar short kind of a thing, right? She was right there alongside of him, and actually I do believe the defense, when they get up here and speak in a minute, will say something to that effect. Kind of like try and blame the other victims, I guess, because Kayla is technically a victim in this. However, she kind of went along with a lot of stuff too at one point. So that's that part of the case is just, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating to listen to her get up there and just talk about these things, because again, when you hear how long this went on with Harmony, the abuse, all that type of stuff, it was just like, you have so many questions, especially since Kayla and Adam already had, they had kids together, right? So that being said, you hear the charges that they're asking for, right? Or I'm sorry, the time links and whatnot here. I mean, essentially, they are asking the judge, throw the book at this man. Okay, throw the book at this man. And the judge will definitely do that, but we'll get to that in a minute. But let's get to one of the tactics that the state uses, which I've not seen this before, and it had me on the edge of my seat because I was like, is he going to take it?
If the defendant will right now tell us where he hid her body, sufficient for us to find her, if he'll tell us right now where he put that CMC bag, so that her family and the Manchester Police Department can recover her remains in the next 7 days, then the state would amend its recommendation to a minimum of 35 years to life, and let the second-degree assault, falsifying physical evidence, abuse of a course, and witness tampering sentences be served concurrent. But right now, Your Honor, if he tells us where we can recover her and we do so within the next 7 days, we will change our recommendation to 35 years.
Here's the thing. First of all, he doesn't take it. That's what I said spoiler alert about earlier. He doesn't take it. We don't expect him to. That's not Adam. Here's my theory on a couple of things. Number one, he stands by his innocence. Remember, he's already serving a lengthy prison sentence, right? Now, you heard the state say, we'll suggest concurrent, and basically 35 years. You know what I'm saying? Because when you tag everything else with it, it's 35 years, right? That's the biggest charge of these new charges. And I'm not sure if the state meant he would also suggest that they run the whole 35 concurrent with the other 30 or whatever he's already serving. Here's the thing. Adam probably knows at his age, the sentence that he's already writing out plus another 35 years, he's going to be way up there. You're talking numerous things can happen in prison, right? And he strikes me the type, he's a violent human being, right? So he's going to be fighting, he's going to be running with probably, I would say running with gangs, but I can't see any of them accepting him. Here's the other major part. The charge that he's going in on and what he did to Harmony is so vile. I do not see how the man is still alive, okay? And now that he's been sentenced in this and will be probably, I imagine he's in protective custody. I can't imagine he wouldn't be. So I'm sure in his world he's thinking, I have to not say where the body is. And this is just part of it, not all of it. And again, this is just my little theory here. He's thinking, I have to not say where the body is, because if I admit to that, then if I say where it is, then they know that I did it, right? And I can't say I'm innocent. Because there's a glimmer of hope in his mind, probably like, I'm claiming innocence so that I don't get, got over these charges in prison. The evidence is so overwhelming. Okay. It's like, to me, regardless, it's like, bro, whether you say you did it or not, or you know where her body is or not, it's not going to be a good stay for him. He is going to get, if he hasn't already, a dose of his own medicine that he so easily handed out to Harmony, okay? Now, the other part to it is, so in addition to looking out for his own butt, which is probably a big part of it, is the part of he gets off on the pleasure of withholding that from the mother. And when she gets up there, when Crystal gets up there and talks about like the victim impact statement, that type of stuff, so much of this to me was getting back at her. And we so often see that in these cases where the spouse is getting back at another person via the child. Another example of this to me, and this is like different relationship dynamics, is Lori Daybell, JJ in the middle, Kay Woodcock over here. I truly believe Lori Daybell, part of the whole JJ and taking his life, was getting back at Kay and getting off on the pleasure of taking something that Kay loved that made her heart up away from her, and in such a manner. And I believe that the same thing went on here. I think when Adam saw Harmony, he didn't see Harmony. He saw his ex. He saw this. He saw that. And in turn, he lashed out.
Since that offer has been rejected, Your Honor, that is yet another reason why the minimum should not apply. What I just said was not a stunt. It was not a theatrical event. I stated in closing arguments that there are moments in life where we are tested, where our failure or our success lies in whether we do the right thing at that moment in time. And time again, and about 30 seconds ago, the defendant chose again to be heartless and immoral and selfish and unapologetic, which for the purposes of you deciding his punishment and rehabilitation and his deterrence and coming up with the right sentence for him means that he has just yet shown you again in this courtroom, and for anybody else, that he is heartless, immoral, selfish, and an unapologetic for his own child.
I mean, it gets me every time when they flash that shirt right there with her little picture on there. I mean, it's heartbreaking. That poor little girl. So you heard that the state is so well spoken in this and summing up, and I know that they're kind of going at him, but even in so, because it's so vile, they're being very calm and professional to me, because this is such an intense case. It's hard not to just want to go off on this man, especially when he just sits over there so calmly, knowing that he won't give Harmony, he won't give anybody that last little bit of closure of, okay, at least here's where her remains are. And it's probably so horrible what he did with her remains, because remember, he carried them around for a couple of years. He did all sorts of terrible things to them to try and conceal them. So who knows what he'd do in their final spot wherever he left her. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to switch over to some of those victim impact statements. We're going to start off with Harmony's biological mother, and let's hear what she has to say in just a couple of quick snippets from her.
To the monster who murdered my baby. I did not kill my daughter, and I look forward to trial to refute those offensive claims. That is all you have said about my sweet daughter's life. Another lie, like all the other ones you've told.
I mean, monster is the right word. And again, whether you've watched this or you're not, or whatever, one of Adam's like hallmarks, if you will, is blaming everyone else about in this crime. Oh, it was her. Oh, last time I saw we dropped her off with the mom. Oh, it was this over here. Oh, hey, I need you to help me move. Let's get a U-Haul. He was a master at zero cares given for other people's lives. He would throw anyone under the bus. I mean, obviously we know that, right? Look at what he did to Harmony. Look at what he's done to others. But like all the way down to like getting people involved in the crime that didn't know they were involved in the crime, okay? He's just that type person. Like, he does not care at all. It is all about Adam and every moment of his life.
She had a life worth living, unlike your own. And it bothered you to your core that she was nothing like you and everything like me.
That's exactly what I'm talking about right there, okay? What we were talking about a second ago. I truly believe that this was at the heart of Adam's anger, angst, whatever you want to call it, that he had with Harmony, with her, with Crystal, with the whole thing, right? It so reminds me of these other cases that we look at. So, but again, I firmly believe that was a huge part of that. And so for her to be able to get up there and call that out, I mean, it had to have been such a gratifying moment for her, right? Let's go listen to like one more clip from her.
Suffering in that back seat for 20 minutes while you and your wife fed yourselves and your other children.
Now, this part right there is the part about the way she left this earth with Kayla and Adam up front. She's under a blanket. God only knows what she's going through in her last moments and thinking. And again, we're going to hear from other victim impact statements here in a minute of, you see what she had, what she could have had, and then this is how she left. And for what? For what? Like, what could she have done so bad? Oh, she wet her pants. Well, because he calls that, and I believe the judge will call that out. Or maybe the state does. I mean, the state already did, but maybe even the judge. Or other victim impact statements, whoever, I can't remember right now. But it was like Adam calls the very issues to Harmony that then pissed him off. You know what I'm saying? And he took it out on her. It was just this vicious cycle that, again, a small child, or anybody for that matter, but especially a small child, should never have to go through. So I actually do have one more clip of her. Let's go ahead and hear what she has to say here.
Your hatred for me led you to act on your monstrous, controlling ways, and you took her because you just could not let her come home where she belongs.
Exactly. The ultimate act in selfishness, you know, taking her life. He could not let her win. Harmony was not a human. Harmony was not a child. Harmony was not his little girl. She was a thing to him. A vessel to get back at, something that angered him, something that frustrated him. And I would almost argue to say that no one is real, like the way we look at other people as like human beings, as real life, you know, things with feelings and life and all that stuff. Adam doesn't view people like that. That's what I'm talking about, that evilness. It's almost like if you follow like Halloween movies and stuff like that, like the actual franchise Halloween, he's very Michael Myers in that way, that just nothing. Just void. Nothing at all there, right?
My name is Amy Van Auken, and I'm reading a statement on behalf of Kayla Montgomery. Goodbye. I wanted to write a letter to you because it's the only way to tell you how I feel. I don't know about you, but I need some kind of closure. I will forever have a place in my heart for you, whether you believe me or not. You were my best friend, my husband, the person I chose to spend the rest of my life with. You are the father of our children we have together, and I'm forever grateful for having them.
Now, you saw the biological mother leaving while this is being read by Kayla. I don't know if that was significant, or she was like, I'm done, I got to get out of here. But then again, remember, Kayla took the stand, she testified, she gave all the information, she got a deal, she already got out. They had children together. She was the one in the front seat with Adam when Harmony was dying in the back seat. So let's just keep listening.
Also, when you stepped up to be a father to Harmony, you worked so hard to get custody of her, and it took a few years, but you got her. I won't forget the day we picked her up and brought her home. We were so excited.
I really don't have any words for that. I'm going to be honest. I don't believe I think he lied and schemed to get a hold of her, right? Just looking at his history, his behavior, I don't know how he got a hold of her. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he pretended to be excited. Maybe he was excited because now he can enact his plan. But I do not believe for a second that it was a true excitement of, I finally got my little girl back at all.
We didn't even know she passed away until the car died, and we had to take our kids out of the car. She didn't respond. She was lifeless. Then a couple years go by, and during those years, we had to keep quiet about her being gone. You told me to stick with the story that you dropped her off at 6 a.m. at Dunkin's, where I no longer worked at, and brought her to her mother, Crystal, so she could stay there because it was better for Harmony.
Mm-hmm. So see, when it benefited him, he's like, oh, it's better for her to stay there. But he's lying because he took her life, right? Now, Kayla has to step up because what ends up happening with Kayla, that energy coming from Adam towards Harmony is now shifted to Kayla because he's paranoid. He's smoking all sorts of drugs. He's doing all that. He's paranoid, right? I mean, who wouldn't be, right? You've done this, and now, but on top of it, not only have you taken your little girl's life, but you're toting her body around, right? From place to place to place to place. I mean, put her in rafters at homeless shelters. I mean, it's insane, right? So then all that paranoia gets taken out on Kayla. So she almost has to do something. She almost has to come forward. She's then forced to leave because she probably would have just gone along with this for however long. Now what I want to do is I want to listen to a couple of statements from some of the foster parents that have, well, the first couple we're going to listen to, they have Harmony's brother. It is heartbreaking testimony, but it also shows how far reaching the victims are in this case, right? So let's hear a couple of statements from them during victim impact statements.
He looked off into the shadows of his closet and said, "Is that Harmony there, looking back at me?" These are no questions for a little boy to be asking. He no longer can hold on to that hope. Since learning about the death of innocent and beautiful Harmony, Jameson has suffered. Just a few weeks ago in school, his teacher asked him to draw a picture of his family. He drew a picture of his 2 dogs, his 2 brothers, his 2 dads, but then he put a heart above all of us, and inside that heart was the letter H.
Y'all, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of stuff right here. And again, I don't think Adam cares at all. Okay, I really don't. I don't think he cares one little bit about this. When you hear heartbreaking testimony about this little boy will carry this his whole life. He admired his sister. He looked up to her. And this is the outcome of it. And again, like they said, these are no questions for a little boy. They don't understand this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're being brought into the lesson of death and things like that, which we all learn at some point. But imagine this is like your entryway into it. Like, you can't comprehend, like, what? Dad did, huh?
He would go to the door when the doorbell rung, and he would say, "Maybe she's found me." He would search a park, he would look at school, and if there was any girl that had blonde hair and glasses, he would go up to them and say, "Are you Harmony?"
Imagine having to explain that, all the little moments like this throughout the days, and you're having to, however you navigate that as a parent, right? It's like you never, I mean, like, of all the questions you think of, like, oh God, when they ask me this, how do I explain that? You know what I'm saying? Like standard type stuff, birds and the bees, whatever that might be, right? This is uncharted territory. This is, you know, and not only that, but like the gravity of it every day, and the questions will only become more layered. You know, I mean, I'm just imagine what that would be like as you get older and older and can comprehend that loss, but also the enormity of what that represents for the familial dynamics and relationships, the questions that would naturally come up with that. Now, next we're going to hear from the family. This, again, it's heartbreaking testimony, but we're going to hear from a family that had her, a foster family. One thing to keep in mind with these couple of statements we're listening to from the other parents and whatnot that, you know, had them and had custody of them for a while, whatever. You know, if you're trying to find a silver lining, and I hate even using that term, for me it's like, at least she knew, for as brief as it might have been, what love was. And I'm not trying to say she didn't get that from her biological mother. I'm sure she got that from Crystal as well. But I'm just saying, in comparison to when you hear these family units that she was in, where it was like safe, you know, because she had it, whether, you know, Crystal loved her or not, there was some tumultuous stuff going on there, right? And that's not to shame her or anything like that. It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? So when she was in these other households where it was like, okay, there was safety, you could put your head down type thing at nighttime, not worry, whatever, you know, whatever was going on. At least she had that. At least she had a variety of people that loved her, so that by the time she made it to Adam, who I would argue did not care about her, did not love her, she was an object, all the things I've said, you know, at least she knew that. So let's listen to what the I guess you would say foster mother, but the mother in this situation has to say.
We jokingly told her that she leaves a sparkle wherever she goes. She loved to be in the middle of everything that was going on, and she never missed a beat. She loved going to church and loved going to school. She loved Minnie Mouse, playing outside, playing dress up, playing house, and loved to cuddle.
And these are the signifiers of this was Harmony, right? When we hear the evidence that came forth in the trial of her last time in life with Adam and whatnot, the issues that were going on, the body functions being lost and stuff, these to me were trauma responses of her body from living through what she did. One example that I go back to in my mind when I think of this case and I hear this beautiful testimony about her and what she was as like a person, as a human, as a little child, as a little girl, is the testimony of, whether it was not testimony from Adam, but however it came out in the stands, what I'm trying to get at, of when Harmony was doing something and Adam would claim that she was trying to smother her brother. And he came out and she had her hand over his mouth and he beat her all up and threw her all around the house. And I believe that's when the uncle or Adam's cousin, I can't remember if it's the uncle or cousin, came home. It was like, he saw this. He saw the outcome of this. And when I listened to that, I was like, I think she was trying to cover, like she was trying to keep the baby from crying because she knew Adam would attack them. So to me, when you hear testimony like this from the witness impact statement, things like that, that's Harmony. You can already see that beautiful soul that was glowing and that sadly was dimmed out by her own father. Now, let's hear a couple of statements when the defense gets up there and speaks on behalf of their client, Adam.
To assume the lack of rehabilitation for prior records that occurred from the time that Mr. Montgomery was quite young, that many, fueled by drug and drug addiction that was introduced to his life by some of the very witnesses, family members, wives, who participated in maintaining his addiction and in a lot of the conduct that he did in the prior record. He is worthy of rehabilitation, especially after what would be the mandatory minimum under this sentence.
Okay, so here's the thing. Let's just unpack that a little bit. First of all, it's his defense. That is their job. They are trying to do the best they can for his life. I get it. Okay, anybody would want their defense to do the same thing. You know, so there's that. Whether I agree or disagree or whatever, it is what it is. I 100% agree on the level of, if we remove Adam from this, right, that, okay, yeah, you know what? People are always capable of change at any point in their life, 100%. Here's where I deviate from that with this case specifically. And the judge will correct this. First of all, there are plenty of people who do drugs, whether recreationally, abuse, however you want to paint that picture, right? That don't do this stuff, okay? So when I get the vibe that it's almost like trying to blame that a little bit, I'm like, no. People can, and again, whether it's recreational use or, you know, full on like just a issue, a drug, whatever, no, that doesn't, no, these two don't go hand in hand of, oh, well, they did that, so of course they're going to have done blank. No, absolutely not. I disagree. whether there's scientific, things about like, oh, well, we can do some statistics and da-da-da. No, but to make that blanket statement, I don't agree with that. Now, on that same note, the whole thing about that little edge of victim blaming in there, of some of the witnesses, the family members, the wives that facilitated this, no one is arguing that there was maybe some poor choices made. You know what I'm saying? I get that, okay? But it's that little dig of almost like, well, I mean, they kept this going, so what do you expect? I mean, he is rehabilitatable, though. And I'm just like, yeah, but that starts with taking accountability. I understand that probably in his situation, like I've discussed already, it's not in his best interest, safety, long-term wise, to admit to this in his world. I get that. He's going to do what he's got to do to try and survive or whatever, okay? But for the defense, yeah, but he probably doesn't even know what they're going to say. I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're just trying to get there and do their job. But that just little edge of victim blaming, I'm like, you're not selling me on this. And again, they have nothing to work with. I mean, look at who their client is, right? Look at the evidence. It's horrible. But I guess, like, just representative of when we see cases like this where it's like, look, when people get up here in this tried and true thing, like, oh, well, you know what, they were doing this, so that excuses this. No, it doesn't, because there's so many people that do the same things that don't do horrible things like this, right? And again, everybody has a different life experience, but that's where it's just like, tone that down a little bit, and then don't sit here and do that edge of blaming people. Well, especially in this scenario where the people she's blaming, it's like, it's Harmony's mother. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm sure she's probably referring to maybe the uncle or the cousin, whoever. These people who, there's clearly dysfunction in these families, right? Of the major drug abuse, all that, clearly. But to get up there and kind of edge off or ease the accountability to Adam because of it just sits very wrong. And I don't think the judge bought anything the defense said. Now, before we go to this next thing, y'all are going to hear chanting and things of that nature in the background. There was apparently a protest that started somewhere. So that's the noise going on. It's not your headphones. Trust me, I was like, what is going on? What screen is happening or whatever? So just know that that's going on in the background, and maybe like the next couple of clips we're going to listen to.
He can't offer a sentence because no sentence would be fair for him to say that they would be fair when he is maintaining his innocence and he did not commit those charges. So he can't offer you something that's appropriate for them. But he would request that you take into account his objections to the memorandum, and especially his silence here at sentencing, as being an appropriate position to take when he is asserting.
Again, I'm sure the defense is up there like, we got to do what the client says, and we got to do this. At the end of the day, he's not going to say where Harmony is, and they can't control that, so they have to work with what they have, And him over there, you can tell he's like, yeah, what she said. Yeah, what she said. I'm being silent. I objected to that. I didn't do this. Yeah, Adam. Okay. Honey, the game's up. And again, I'm only thinking that he's just trying to save his butt. But I would argue that Adam's the type person, and just from stuff we've seen, like the evidence, the testimony, people like this, you could like walk into a room and see Adam there wearing a purple shirt and be like, Adam, you're wearing a purple shirt. No, I'm not. Yeah, that's a purple shirt. No, I'm not. It's not purple. Why would you think that? It's blue. Listen, it's a white shirt. Adam, is clearly purple. No, it's not. You're crazy for thinking that it's purple. It's a white shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like he's that like gone, okay? Like that kind of raging narcissist that will like gaslight the most basic of things. Be like, Adam, it's a fact that the sky is above us. No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm telling you, you're the stupid one. I read an article in Google. You know what I mean? Like that kind of person. Like I'm sure. So imagine like on real subjects like that. Like obviously what we're doing right now. I didn't do it. I can't tell you where she's at. Okay, Adam. We'll go with that.
Adam Montgomery did not kill his daughter, but when he discovered his daughter's death, he broke, and he did inexplicable things. Even he can't explain his actions. But eventually he pulled it together, and he was able to say goodbye to his daughter. And that's what he did.
I mean, she was... Can you imagine being the defense having to get up there and say that? Honestly, I would have thought about being like, I would have been like, if I was her, I'd been like, okay, I have like 2 years to retirement. I could just go ahead and do early retirement because this is going to be the one that takes the cake in my career. When he discovered her, he did what he had to do. He pulled it together to say goodbye. I mean, the cuppeth is in the damn dishwasher, but you know, if you know, you know, drinketh from the damn cuppeth over that one. That makes you want to come to the screen right there. That's what I'm talking about, though. That whole thing of like, Adam, it's clear the sky is above us. It's not something we really argue. Woo! You know, Adam, it's clear you're wearing a purple shirt. Woo! You know, that kind of thing where I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine being married to this man? And then on top of it, you're then introducing a violent, anger-filled, big guy. You know what I mean? Who clearly has, you know, he's not going to think about punching you. He's going to punch you. You know what I'm saying? Like that type person. Scary. Now let's get to, I don't know if you call it the good part, but the actual sentencing and hear what the judge has to say.
You took a human life, and you did so in the most callous and heartless of ways. You robbed a 5-year-old girl, your own daughter, of the life that she was to lead. You stole from your sons a sister. You took a daughter from her mother.
Amen. Now, I don't know if you saw, but the cop dude, the bailiff or whatever you call him, over there looking, I mean, again, he's like looking at Adam almost like this, you're in the presence of a monster. I mean, literally. Just through the computer screen, that's what I'm watching on. Like I said, y'all, we watch so many of these, and even though you get this monstrous fight, there's something so sinister about Adam. Again, I just say he's the real life Michael Myers. Like what I imagine Michael Myers, this guy from Halloween, of where they talk about like that, there's nothing behind those black eyes. You know how when you see some of these people, and what I mean by these people is like the people who do these kind of crimes, like these mega crimes, or like extreme narcissists or sociopaths or whatever you like, you know, whatever. Those like dark, beady, like there's no life behind them. That is the energy that Adam gives me. No soul.
Your extreme indifference to the value of human life is seen in so many of your actions in this case.
Thank God the judge called that out. Thank God she called that out, because it's so true. And every facet of it, it's that.
And as a result, at this point, the court has the responsibility to impose a sentence that not only punishes you harshly for the crimes that you have committed, but considers deterrence, that is, how to keep you from hurting others.
Amen, sister. Read it off. Go on. Throw him to old damn Sparky. It's the only real thing with him. I mean, this guy, again, like I said, I believe that everyone is capable of change and stuff like that. This guy's history and the level of vileness that he took this to, I don't know if you can come back from that, okay? Like, I don't know that there's coming back from this. Because it's not only what he did to Harmony to take her life, it's what he did after that. All the way up until a few minutes ago, where he still refused to tell them where her remains are.
Harmony was an innocent 5-year-old girl. You treated her in the worst of possible ways, in both her life and in her death.
Exactly. And I'm so glad the judge pointed this out, because it's such a prevalent part of the case. I'll say it 100 times during this video. This is just one of those things where, again, you know, when you look at the Daybell situation, what they did with the remains of, it's all of them, but especially Tylee and JJ, it just shows the utter disregard for life when they take things to this level.
Therefore, the court sentences you as follows. On charge ID 2027112C, the charge of second-degree murder, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than life nor less than 45 years. That sentence is stand committed. That sentence is consecutive. All of these sentences, I should say now, are consecutive to each other, as well as consecutive to docket 216-2022 CR 577, which are the sentences that you're currently serving.
So basically, she just banged him up. Now, you saw in the beginning where he was like, she read it off, and he's like, yeah. You know, just like that, almost like trying to control, not the narrative, but the vibe of it or something. You know, it's not that he doesn't care, but he's not gonna, he does not like somebody else having this power over him. And I get that most of us want it, right? I understand that. But especially Adam, like you can just tell it runs all over him. And then two, he knows what's happening. He knows that, I mean, it's like, you're done, buddy. You're done.
On charge ID 2027113C, falsifying physical evidence. On this charge, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor 3.5 years. This sentence is stand committed, consecutive to all of the other charges. On the charge of tampering with witnesses and informants, you are sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 7 years nor less than 3.5 years. On the abuse of corpse charge, on this charge, you are sentenced to the maximum penalty of 12 months at the House of Correction. All of this sentence is suspended for 25 years. If it were to be imposed, it would be consecutive to the sentences that I read to you. On the second degree assault charge, charge ID 1937947C, you are sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 8 years nor less than 4 years.
Here's the thing. Amen to the judge. She threw the book at him, as she should have. Consecutive on all that. He's already serving a lengthy prison sentence. He ain't getting out. Now, here's the other thing that you can, again, in my opinion, you can rest assured on this. These kind of charges, you heard them reading them off. I mean, they're horrid, okay? If you watch the trial, you know that the evidence is horrifying. They're waiting for him. Trust me, they're waiting for him on the yard. Okay, 100%. If this man lives through, because basically he's going to be in there for the rest of his life, okay? There's no way. Somebody will get him. The guards, somebody. If you watch like TikToks or videos of people who've like done like the hard time, okay? Like a hard time in these major, like the kind of place where he's going for these kind of charges, like that type prison, that type yard. Y'all, this is not a good look for him, and I'm sure he's aware of that. And now I'm imagining, I don't know how they do it up in New Hampshire, but I'm imagining he's been in like maybe a local county, even though he's already sentenced to something, doing this trial. Now that this is going on, he's probably going to get shipped back to wherever, and now it's confirmed, like, you're guilty on these heinous charges, you know. So again, more power to the judge for throwing him under the bus like that, as she should have, under all four wheels, because this case, it just, they're all sad, and I'm not trying to sit here and do a Richter scale of like, oh, this one's, but they all hit different for whatever reason, you know, whatever it speaks to me or us or whatever, how you want to say it about the case. And this one was just so utterly heartbreaking because, you know, like so many of these victims, Harmony was so innocent, so vulnerable, and it was so senseless. You heard from all the people that got up and spoke so highly of her. There's no reason why she should have ever been back with Adam, and something so nasty and vile as him should have ever been in control of her. He did not deserve her. I'm just trying to get my wording right there. And so there's that. I would sit here and venture to say we will hear headlines of something happening to this man, and who knows how long it will take, right? But that's my prediction for him, you know, and I can't say I feel bad over it, you know, at all. I mean, because when you think about what Harmony went through in her last moments, not even the last moments, but leading up to that, it was horrible. You know, and now think about all these, the brother, the mother, the foster parent, all these people, all these images are going to have to live through. And the fact that Adam made them go through trial makes it even worse. So he is where he belongs. He'll never see the light of day. And I don't give him very much longer to even see another day. So that's it. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, if you are still watching. Mr. Roscoe went to sleep. This one's so rough. Roscoe said, I've got to dip this one out. He's going to go to sleep. But he does ask you to drop some little sofas in the comments section so that we can sit and talk about this case, all the cases, all the stuff we talk about here at the Sofa Squad. And until Roscoe and I do meander down to the comment section, we'll see y'all soon. I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now, don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. Also, if you're looking for merch, be sure to check out my Teespring store, I'll put that up here. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Roscoe on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.